Commission is now in charge of this scene. He asked me to have y'all go back to the other side of the road. That's coming from
thinking at that point?
My mind is just in so many different places, just wondering where the baby's parents are. Just trying to keep the baby alive. Like, this baby is close to being a newborn and it's bleeding out of the back of its head. I didn't know what to think. So we get it over to the side of the road after we put it on a piece of plywood, keep it stable, and we're trying to get its diaper and its clothes cut off of them. And eventually paramedics start showing up. And we finally find a mask. Before we could even get a mask, they were telling us someone has to do CPR. Well, I knew I was CPR certified for infants and adults and that I could do it. Well, about that time we found a mask and we could start pumping air, and it finally started taking its respirations more and quickly, and it wasn't as slow. And there was plenty of times at this point where I thought the baby was going to die right there in my hands. And eventually the parents started showing up, and before we knew it, the baby was gone and it was in an airplane. And the other victims that we look at, it honestly looked like there was no more skin left on their face. Just, it had blown so bad that it was horrific. I mean, they were telling paramedics as they were trying to cut their clothes off, like, they kept saying, ow, like, it hurts, I can't hear, I can't see. Like, I can just imagine the pain that they're in, and knowing that I have that adrenaline and the experience that I have to be able to help that baby, I mean, it's just crazy.
Like, hair was burned off and all that.
The baby had no more hair, and I see pictures, and I've known the baby, and the baby was a beautiful baby, and you could not even tell who was who today. And it's scary knowing that something can just change like that, and that a baby or even the aunt and grandmother could be gone.
Their hair was singed, and it was very.
But they were awake and alert and talking.
One of the ladies was,
yes,
the other one.
The other one was very out of it. I mean, we were like, you know, what happened? And they're just like, we don't know. And I kept asking, how old is the baby? You know, we were trying to get information, so when paramedics did show up, that we could tell them information about this baby, and they said, I don't know, 2 years. And we said, there's no way this baby's 2 years. And then finally when the mother showed up, she told us it was about 5.5 months.
Just total shock.
It was shock. Like, I know I'm not certified, and yes, I want to do that when I get older, but it felt so right in my heart to sit there and, yeah, I didn't have gloves on, but it felt so right just to hold that baby and know that I helped keep it alive. And I have so many prayers for this family right now. Like, I can just imagine the hurt that they're going through.
When your community goes through that kind of tragedy, all you do is jump up and do what you can to help out. Whether you know them or you don't know them, it felt right in your heart, and you can only imagine what they're going through.
Where do you guys live?
We live right here at the end of the street.
Got it.
And I mean,
did you have any damage to your house? Or
no, not at all.
Just stuff fell off the walls, blew the front door open, but nothing broke or anything.
What's your name, then?
Kimberly Turner.
Kimberly, thanks.
And what's your name?
Morgan Heinz, Heintz.
Okay, when did you hear it first this morning, or what happened with you?
Well, I heard something, and I was just in a very light sleep because I do work late nights at a local bar here, and you know, my mom walked in and goes, Morgan, what was that? She thought I had did something in my room, and I said, I don't know. And I walk out, and that's when my life changed, and I was able to save.
Tell me what you saw. Tell me what
your life changing.
Yeah.
How has this changed your life?
It's so weird because not once have I ever been able to save someone's life. You know, I've taped some football guy's foot in high school, nothing dramatic, and I walk out today and I see a baby about to die, and all I could think about is everything that my athletic trainers have taught me and stuff that I've learned from Shattered Lives that I did through and how they handle things on a rec scene, and all I've always been taught is hold pressure to a cut. And that's what I did, just to try and keep as much blood so he would not lose that much blood.
Where was the baby when you first saw it? Did the trooper already have him out of the house?
The trooper and the Consolidated man did have him out of the house. They had just handed him off to another lady, I guess, that lives right here on the corner. And that's when I saw the baby's head just like this. My instinct was to grab the baby and get that neck stable. You know, as other people say, if their airway is blocked, they're not going to be able to breathe. And the only thing I could do was stabilize that airway.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Talk to me about the freezer.
Okay. Well, during the explosion, we had reports that the bystanders and witnesses said there was an initial fireball and a mushroom cloud. Then, once that happened, we had a blast of fire, and then all the debris started raining down. And they said there was debris falling everywhere, and you can see it around this area. Part of it was a freezer from inside the house was launched into one of the cars in the yard, and it actually damaged the car and ruptured the fuel tank. So we had just everything going on. When the firefighters got here, they had some small fires left over. They still had a small gas fire, and then they had gasoline on the ground. And of course, from our firefighters, when they arrived, the first thing they described seeing was a DPS trooper on the ground treating a small child with very bad injuries. So a lot of those guys' initial efforts, they knew they had a problem. From the moment they got here, they were launching the life flight helicopters. They knew we were going to be taking those folks down where they could get that care. So
Bottom line, it's, and granted, we don't know what's going to happen still, but it's fairly amazing that anybody survived this at all.
yes, and the initial explosion, all the damage and all the trauma and the burns that they suffered, what helped is it was such a large explosion. We had such a community here that everybody rushed over to help. We had the phone company employee across the street, a DPS trooper that heard it. Those guys were in here within just a minute, and they were digging the child out of the rubble. It's still burning at this point in time, albeit not very badly, but it is burning, and that baby's in there. I can't say enough about for those guys didn't worry about what had happened. They didn't think about secondary explosions. They didn't think about anything. They went in there and they got that child out of that building before he burned up, and they gave him a chance. So that's all we can do in this situation. They're the ones that reacted and did the job, and the trooper was taking care of that child when our folks arrived.
Is that the freezer you're talking about?
I think there's one there, and then there's another one in the back, and this one here launched and landed on the ground. There's another one behind the car back there. So this one is actually come out of the house and landed. You can see some of the debris was as far as 250 feet away that landed out here in the field. So we have a fairly large debris field, but really that's not inconsistent. When you have a gas explosion like this, the difference between LP gas and natural gas, LP gas, the explosions are generally higher. It'll top the walls out. With LP gas, it sinks. It'll gather in the house at low levels. It'll find its way into the home. It'll gather. When there's an ignition source, you can have a significant amount of vapor before it rises up to the level of, say, a wall socket or a stove or something like that that'll set it off. So obviously we had a lot of vapor in this house when it was set off when the explosion occurred.
I mean, that's just complete devastation.
Yes, it's been several years since we've seen, the last one we saw like this was destroyed by an LP gas explosion. The only difference was, fortunately, there was no one home. This is a tragedy, for this community. Everyone here in this community knows this family. They're either at home right now thinking about them, or they're on their way to the hospitals to take care of them and to support the family members there. So that's what they're asking us right now, just to pray for their family members.
And there's still no official causal update or any investigative update?
The investigation over the next few days will focus on, obviously, we want to look at the gas supply, the piping, the last time the gas was added, the condition of the appliances in the home. A lot of that will be done over the next several days. Some of that may be removed and taken to a laboratory for testing for further analysis.
Is that the phone guy?
I believe he's left. So his supervisor was out here. We did talk to his supervisor. You may check with him and see if that's actually him. But
That's somebody.
Stewart, I'm a photographer with the Eagle and College Station.
Come on in,
If
Stuart.
I jump on,
Yeah, come on in here.
Kind of just sort of explain. I hate to make you go through it all again.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Just came out, and I'm just going to shoot.
What do you have on the victims? Anything yet?
Family members at the hospitals have told us and relayed information that both the adults are considered to be very critical at this time. We know about the child or the infant that was transported to UTMB. He's reported to be in critical condition as well, but we have received updates during the day that both the female occupants of the home are in very critical condition.
How long will an investigation like this take?
It will depend on the flow and how many days it takes to examine the scene, whether or not some of this may take place in the coming days and weeks and months even. Some of this debris will be removed and analyzed in a laboratory. We'll try to determine the condition of the gas piping, what could have led to a release, what could have led to the ignition of the vapors once they were released.
Now the Railroad Commission gets involved, why?
Well, the Railroad Commission in Texas is a state agency that's charged with regulating and providing safety and oversight of the liquefied petroleum gas industry. That's amongst their other duties, but that's one of the things that they do. So obviously they want to look at this from a point of what went wrong and what can be done to make LPG safer in the future, because it's used, LPG is a reliable source of energy that's used throughout Texas. And without LPG, many of our homes in rural communities wouldn't have the energy efficient heat and the gas appliances that they have now. There's just not natural gas available. So,
talk to me a little bit about the LPG being a little heavier than air instead of lighter than air. What about these detectors, CO2 detectors, smoke detectors, anything like that? If someone's got LPG, is it a good thing to have one down lower to the floor too?
well, the one recommendation we make is if you have gas appliances in your home, if you have LP gas appliances, they're very economical. You can buy a combination of carbon monoxide and a LP gas detector. They also make standalone units. If you have gas appliances, you should have a carbon monoxide detector in your home. If you have LP gas, you should have an LP gas detector in your home. And you can plug that into the wall. Most of them have a small battery backup, but they run off your home's electricity, and they'll alert if there's a leak of liquefied petroleum gas inside your home. So that's an important safety recommendation and something every home should have.
Something down low though instead of
Yeah,
high.
it would be down low. Most of them would plug into a wall outlet. It's not much different. Most recreational vehicles, in fact, all recreational vehicles manufactured today, travel trailers, RVs, they're required to have LP gas detectors because they have portable LP gas systems on them. So that's something, any home that's equipped with LP gas certainly is required to have a carbon monoxide detector, and we certainly would recommend an LP gas detector as well.
All right. Got my reporter here. I just drove in from College Station, so all I know is what I read on the way over here, and they were talking about the propane tank. I don't.
We sent out a little. How do we get all of that? Fire marshal. Everybody reported in the area, reported an explosion. It was felt as far away as Willis, which is about 20 miles to the east of here across Lake Conroe. Part of his ceiling collapsed. He came outside, and what everyone reported was an initial fireball and mushroom cloud, and then a rain at the car. A deep freeze struck the car and ruptured the gas tank, and the house is literally torn apart.
It was a wooden house.
Wood frame house. It's similar to what a good picture of an example throughout this area. We had a 58-year-old. She is the grandmother of the infant. The infant's reported to be approximately 8 months old. And the infant was here in the care of his 58-year-old grandmother. There was some residual fire. They were able to locate the infant inside there and pull it out. And the trooper was on the ground with the infant treating him when our first firefighters arrived. He immediately reported here and was one of the first ones. Then a couple of troopers were on scene, and along with some other good Samaritans here, and they were treating the patients. Our firefighter EMTs got here, our hospital district EMS got here, and they immediately launched the helicopter. He's also reported to be in critical condition.
Hey, first of all, your name, sir?
Bart Hogan,
Spell your last name.
Hogan.
Tell me what you saw, or tell me where you were at this morning. What happened?
I was sitting in the parking lot and turned my truck off and got out and opened the door, and that's when it happened. The explosion happened.
What did you see or feel or hear?
And I felt the concussion. Truck rocked. Kind of, threw my truck around, and then I didn't know what happened. I turned around and saw the smoke and debris in the air.
It was quite a ways up, just debris raining down, or what?
It was well over the trees, yes.
And what would happen next?
I got out, kind of dumbfounded, walked toward the house, or it turned out to be a house. I didn't know it was a house at the time because I just didn't remember what was over there, and called 911. Just walking up the driveway, that's when I heard a voice, and it turned out to be one of the ladies in the house. Went to her, and where I was at, I couldn't get to her. I was trying to get her to walk to a certain direction, and she was asking where the baby was, and that's when another man came in from a different direction, was able to get to her, and she said to motion to where the baby was, and I walked in that direction, and luckily was able to find him under some debris.
What, he was pretty much buried under the debris, or what was?
Pretty close. He was pretty deep.
Was fire close to him at the point
No,
there?
not at the time. No.
Okay. What about how long after that did the fire really get going?
Honestly, I don't remember.
You don't remember?
No.
What kind of shape was the little one in?
He was bleeding. He was breathing. He was moving. He wasn't crying or anything. Beyond that, I handed him off to somebody that had a blanket to wrap him up, keep him warm.
You ever seen anything like this before?
No, sir. Don't want to see it again.
What do you think about? I mean, what was running through your head when you were seeing all this?
Just, wonder exactly what happened, and then worried about the people that were there since I was here. I normally don't work in this area, so I was in the right place, the right time today, I guess.